Hello, my name's Tiffany, and as you can see by the title of the video, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it, but it's going to be something along the lines of my dad's a killer, or my dad killed my mom, something like that. I want to tell my story. I'm going to try to do this without too much editing or whatever. I'm waiting on my manager to call me back for a work situation, so I might have to edit that part, but while this is on my mind, I just want to get it out here. So, like I said, my name's Tiffany. I am 21 years old and I live in Ohio. I just turned 21 on Halloween. Halloween's my birthday and it's just a part of who I am. I don't think I've ever told the story to the extent that I'm about to tell it. Most people around me know what happened. They know a bit of my story. But this is just something I feel like I want to put out here. Maybe someone can get some information or usefulness out of it. I grew up thinking my dad was a good guy. I did. My mom, from what I'm told, I didn't know her very well. I was only 3, like I said, when she died, and my first confirmed memory is her funeral. I remember walking down the little aisle or whatever, and I saw her casket, and it was closed. I don't remember when I remembered this, but I can see it clear as day in my mind. And it's been confirmed because I spoke to my grandma. I lived with my grandparents on my dad's side. And I grew up thinking he was not that bad of a dude. Now, is my dad a bad person? I don't know. Do I consider him a father figure? Not particularly, honestly. I visited him when I was younger. I haven't done that in a really long time. They took him for, see if he was gonna get parole or whatever. A couple years ago, I think that was the year I turned 18. If I'm looking up here, my animal's over here, I apologize. And they informed me that I wouldn't have visitation rights. I could choose to get them by filling out some paperwork and overturning them, I guess. I'm not really too sure. I didn't really look too much into it. I honestly wasn't too interested. My dad and my mom, both, from what I understand, were drug addicts. Do I know what kind of drugs? I've heard prescriptions, I've heard a couple other things, but your guess is as good as mine. My mom had a lot of health issues, and she had something wrong with her hand or an arm where it was, I think one arm was thinner than the other, I don't really know. I have very little history with her. I know she was bipolar, she had anxiety and depression, which I have all 3. And right now, I'm going through a difficult time in my life, which is why I'm making this video. And I've wanted to get back into YouTube for a really long time. I used to make videos when I was younger. They were never very good, but I had fun. But now that I'm looking to go back to school, being 21, I'm a high school dropout. I stopped going to school with 2.5 credits left to get my diploma. I know people probably would find that hard to believe, but my grandpa died my senior year. He died in March of my senior year. I was 17. And he was probably the closest human that I had been to in a really long time. There's been one other person in this world I've ever been as close to as I've been with my grandpa. My earring is crooked, I think. I'm gonna fix that. Sorry. But I had 2.5 credits left, and I was just too depressed to go back to school. I went back after about 2 weeks. By then, I had already been struggling most of the year. I passed most of my classes, but there was 2.5. One was English, I didn't finish my senior project. Then I think the second one was science. I think science. I took a class that was 2 above what I could focus on apparently, and it wasn't good timing. I should have taken an easier class because I knew my grandpa was sick, but I didn't realize how sick he was gonna get. And then the third class that only counted for half a credit that I failed was personal finance, which I more or less just didn't like the teacher. I'm gonna be honest with you. He wasn't a very good teacher. Maybe he was, but he didn't like me. I didn't like him. That's just how it is sometimes. But as I was saying, I'm going back to school. I'm trying to get my diploma through my job, and then I want to go to art school. I'm an artist. I'm not particularly good, but I do love doing it. That's one thing that I inherited from my dad. I wouldn't say I'm not skilled, but I'm not the best. Maybe one day, as I grow this channel and make more videos, which I do plan to do, I can show off some of my artwork. I think that would be really fun. I've been knitting lately. I have a bunch of yarn. I like knitting. And I'm gonna start telling the story of how I found out what happened to my mom. I was, I believe, 11 years old. I had an iPod Touch at the time, and I was sitting across the room from my grandpa. It's about a week before Christmas at this point, and sorry, my dog's coughing. It's about a week before Christmas, and I decided to Google my dad's name for whatever reason. I can't really remember. I guess I just was curious. Maybe something just told me to. Maybe, I don't know. I Googled my dad's name. I Googled his first, middle, last, and then he's a junior. My grandpa is the senior. So I Googled junior, and I clicked on an article. Death from homicidal violence, I believe it said. And I read the article. It said my mom's name. It said my grandpa, my dad's name, and all that information. It said how she was killed. I believe it was via strangulation. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've read the article, and I try not to think about that stuff too much. And her body wasn't found for 3 days. 3 days my mom laid partially dismembered in a closet that I might have been there while she was there. Do I remember? No, I don't remember if I was there or not. And I don't really trust my dad to give me the full answers. I don't. It's just a fact. I don't really trust anything my dad says, because what I'm about to tell you next is something I still can't get over. It's like, out of everything that has happened with him, and I feel like it says so much about who he is as a person. Okay, I understand that he had drug and alcohol problems. That's fine. Well, it's not fine, but you guys understand what I'm saying. It's just something that happens. And I understand that. My grandpa had issues with alcohol, too. Alcoholism runs in our family. Which is why I was always so warned about drinking. My grandparents told me I shouldn't even drink at all. Which, being a young person, of course, I have. And I don't try to let myself get overboard, but when I was 17, let's see if I can show it off without having to move the camera. The scar right here. I was upset, and I drank, and I bit myself. But, as I said, I had something to tell you that changed the way I looked at my dad. This, honestly, is the, sorry, my lips are dry. The one thing that bothers me more about him than anything. he went over the next day, I believe. She was killed on a Saturday or a Friday, but he went over the next day to his neighbor's house, his friend's house, and watched a football game. And the neighbor was quoted as saying, he was the same exact person to me. Well, they said he was the same old blank my dad's name. And nothing had changed to him. My neighbor still saw him as the same person. It's like nothing ever happened. It's like he didn't partially chop my mom's legs off or arm or whatever he did. I think they said he got one of her legs off. Hid her in a trash bag in the closet for 3 days. My cat's being noisy, I apologize. But my grandpa went over to their house, the trailer park, trailer home, whatever you want to call it, to speak to my dad about something or visit, whatever. And my grandpa actually is the one that called the cops. He called the cops on my dad because he suspected something had happened. My dad told him that my mom was in the bedroom, hungover, which, I mean, it's not a bad excuse, which it's probably happened many times before, but at this point it was 3 days later that no one had seen her. And she did have issues as far as health, but my mom, from what I'm told, she's the kind of person that, I'm sorry, my cat's right there. She's the kind of person that you would give her $10 to go to the store, or she would have $10 to go to the store, and every member of the family would have a present when she got back. Every member. Because she was just that nice of a person. She was a very sweet person, from what I'm told. I feel like me and her really would have gotten along. I don't really particularly get along with a lot of my family. I look a lot different than my family. I have freaking bright purple hair, yellow at the top, shaved into a mohawk, giant holes in my ears, a bunch of piercings, as you can see. And as you've seen it when I lick my lips, my tongue is split. But my mom, I get the kind of feeling that me and her would have got along well. She would have let me express myself how I wanted to, blah, 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 this and that. You know, be a good mom. Even if she wasn't the best. As far as her health goes, she had a lot of health issues, which I do too. I have some, not super severe issues with my back, but they aren't minor. I have scoliosis, like about a 10-degree curve. I have, like I said earlier, bipolar, anxiety, depression, and I also get really bad migraines, which affect me every day. Every day for about the past 2.5 years, about 2.5 years, I've had migraines almost every single day. And my animals are trying to get crazy. I apologize. But she would have done the best she could. And she was taken out of this world way too soon. Way too soon. And for a long time, it didn't bother me. As crazy as that is, it didn't bother me. I was numb. I don't even know if I'm really showing emotion in this video. I'm just trying to get this out there to the world, because I feel like it's a story that should be told. When I was young, people would see my grandma come to school and pick me up, and they would say, "Oh, is that your mom?" And I would always say, "No, my mom's dead." And I would say it so bluntly that people thought I was joking, and sometimes I would even laugh. When I was in high school, I would laugh. Or I would say something like, "Oh no, my dad killed my mom." And it just was casual. It sounds so stupid, but it just didn't bother me. And I'm not gonna pretend like it's know how to put this. It bothers me, but I'm over it for the most part, and the older I get, the less okay I am with it. When I was younger, I really didn't care. I was like, oh, I was raised by my grandparents. It's something that everybody has, or not everybody, but a lot of people have. And that was that. I grew up with my dad in prison, which I'm sure a lot of people do. And I didn't realize how different I was. I've heard stories about things similar, but I feel like mine's kind of unique in a way, if that makes any sense. My lips are super dry, I need to put chapstick on. But I feel like my brain's just like stuttering. I apologize, but I don't want to edit this video really. So I'm just gonna keep going. My dog's staring at me. Anyway, my mom, she was a beautiful person. I have a very few pictures of her, but I could tell she was a good person. I could tell she was beautiful. She was kind. She was sweet. She had her issues, like I said. She was a drug addict and alcoholic, but I believe that hers wasn't as bad as my dad's. My dad was a lot worse. And he had a lot more issues with it than my mom. I feel like, from what I've been told and understand, that he was the real problem and she kind of just went along and did with what he did or whatever. They would make candles, and they were really, really talented artists. My mom was too, from what I understand. But my dad, that's the one thing in this world that I appreciate him for. He gave me an artistic skill, and I intend on using it. And hopefully, one day, I'll be remembered, at least to some degree, for my art. It's what I'm passionate about. It's what I love. And I feel like that's one of the things about artists. Most artists, at least, always have the sense of pain and suffering that they go through. And maybe there's a reason for it for me. I personally, I don't believe in God in the traditional sense, but I believe that there's a higher power. I believe in fate. I believe in the fact that you can put a positive energy out there and it'll be returned to you. Which, unfortunately, either I'm putting out negative energy unknowingly, or just not that good at projecting my energy, because I try to be positive. I try to do good. I try to do all this, everything I'm supposed to, but it never seems to be good enough. I really do try, and I'm strong. I know I'm strong. I've made it this far. I didn't think I would. I made a promise to myself, no matter how bad it gets, when I was a lot younger, that I wouldn't let anyone let me take my own life. I wouldn't let anyone get me to that point. And it's gotten close several times. I'm not going to pretend like it hasn't. But I keep telling myself that you need to keep going. Your mom wouldn't want this to happen. She was a good person. She loved everybody. And she could see what a beautiful person I was. She would always brag about me. She would take me around with the stroller, just show everybody me, and she was a good person. And, okay, I didn't really think I was gonna cry, but I think I might cry in this video. I was 3 years old. I'm 21 now. My grandparents raised me from birth because my family wasn't capable. They were very proud of me, but they didn't have the means. My mom was, I believe, 23 when she gave birth to me. They got married. I was born in October. They got married in December. I don't know how long they were together before that. And my dad killed her when I was 3. She was born in November and she died in April. When I was younger, I used to confuse the two, which is, I don't know, it's kind of silly. I miss her. I really do. I'm sorry. Just wish I knew how my life would be. If it would be better. If it would be worse. Maybe it wouldn't change. Maybe I'd still be in the same position. But at least I would still have a mom. Here's my cat. My dog following. I'm not a bad person. I have mental illnesses that sometimes make me think horrible, horrible, horrible thoughts, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but maybe I'll make a video about, like, my overall mental health or something. I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll figure something out because I love creating and I think YouTube could be a good outlet for me. I just wanted to get this out here and tell my story. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would like to say or if I should just wrap it up here. I feel like there's things I'm forgetting. One thing I want to say is that maybe I didn't have a difficult life growing up, or at least difficult, as some people would say. I grew up in a suburban area that's kind of technically a big city, but the area I live in is kind of suburban, but the big city area is less than 10 minutes away. And no, I never went hungry. I never went to sleep cold. I never went to sleep without food. If I wanted food, I got food. I had a dog. It's right here. I've had him since I was 8 years old. And he's been one of the best things that's happened to me. He's a beautiful doggy. His name's Gremlin. I'm sure you'll see more of him. It's just that just because you grow up, you see all these people around you. I went to a primarily African American school. I was the only white girl for a really long time. I think through kindergarten through 6th grade, there was maybe one other person total that came in and out, and there was a lot of mixed kids, obviously, but I'm white. I'm really white. And a lot of them, I'm sure, lived in poverty, which is horrible. It really is. I'm sure a lot of them had parents in and out of jail, which is awful. It really is. I know it is. But my experience is unique to me, and I'm not going to discredit anybody else's experience, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say that I've had an easy life. Did I ever suffer due to how I was raised? Not particularly. My grandparents maybe didn't make the best decisions in a lot of cases, which one could definitely argue that there were things that they could have done better, but they were trying. So I can't really fault them at that. They just was doing what they thought was best. I got into one of the best schools in the country on my first try in middle school for my 7th grade year, and I completely fucked it up. It's my fault. And I failed out and I went to a different school. You calling, Gremlin? Go. Get him. Sorry, my grandma's home and she's trying to take my dog out for a walk.
I didn't you.
Go.
Come on, Grandma.
Oh, you can open the door.
Grandma.
Hey, go. Go. Thank you. Sorry. I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh. I completely messed up going to this good school. I went to a different school for my 8th through 10th grade years. I met some good people. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was bullied in the sense where I was beat up. Nobody ever took my lunch money, but I was always teased. I was always constantly teased, harassed, picked on, blah blah blah. I was the weird kid. I mean, now I embrace that. I like being the weird kid. I really do. That's just part of who I am. Oh, also my cat's back here. I like being who I am. I like who I am as a person. And I'm not bothered by that part anymore. There's a couple things I'm insecure about, but overall, I'm pretty happy of who I am as a person. 99% of the time, I'm fine. More like 90%, I would say. I'm fine, but I get in my head and I struggle a lot sometimes. And I've had an averagely difficult life, I would say. Not the easiest, not the hardest, but I feel like my experiences are definitely unique, like I've said. And that not many people can relate to this. I was so young. And it wasn't even a stranger. It wasn't somebody she knew from work. It wasn't somebody where she was in a wrong place, wrong time. It wasn't a hit and run. She wasn't even targeted. One of the people that helped give me life took the life of the other person, the one that gave birth to me. And he's in prison and has been and probably will be for a very long time, which, quite frankly, I'm kind of happy about. As horrible as that is to say. Well, I guess it's not that horrible, but I don't know. My mom and I never got to know each other. People always tell me how they have amazing relationships with their mom, what it's like to be close to someone like that. I was never close to my grandma. I was never close to people in my family. My cousin, who's a week older than me, she's very sweet. She's a very good person. She works at a bridal shop. She helps people prepare for the happiest day of their lives. And she's very good at it from what I'm told. But me and her are very different. She's proper and southern girl who goes to the country club, puts on a cowboy hat, and does a little dance. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. But I'm the weirdo with freaking bright purple hair. And I like being different. I like who I am as a person. And that's not going to change. I'm happy with who I am. And this is my story. Or at least part of it. I hope you guys stick around to see more. Thank you guys for watching.